You don't lack confidence. You lack evidence. You've broken your own word too many times. Now your brain waits for proof before it believes anything you say. That's not a mindset problem. That's self-respect in decline. Epictetus said, "How long are you going to wait before you demand the best of yourself?" Most people wait forever. They talk like change is coming, but live like it already happened. And that gap between who they say they are and how they show up is where all their confidence dies. They think confidence is a mood, a vibe, a feeling you're supposed to wake up with, but it's not. Confidence is a relationship, you and you. And right now, that relationship's damaged because you've taught yourself not to believe you. You've said tomorrow too many times. You've made promises you didn't keep, not to others, to yourself. You've let emotion override action over and over again. Now, your nervous system doesn't trust your ambition. It sees it as a false alarm. So every time you try to start, you feel resistance. Not because you're lazy, because your brain remembers what happened last time. You said you'd follow through. You didn't. You said you'd be disciplined. You weren't. You said this time was different. It wasn't. So the next time you try, your body sends you doubt, because it's learned that your words don't mean anything. That's not a motivational problem. That's a credibility problem. You've confused intention with action. You think knowing what to do should be enough, but your body doesn't care what you know. It watches what you do. And right now, it's watching someone who talks more than they follow through. So it stops listening. That's why you don't feel confident. Not because you're broken, because you've trained your nervous system not to believe in your own leadership. You've been trained to think confidence looks a certain way. Loud voice, perfect timing, no hesitation. But that's performance. That's Polish. That's surface. And if you try to chase that version of confidence, you'll never feel like it's yours, because you'll always be comparing yourself to someone who's practiced pretending longer than you have. The truth is simpler. Confidence is what happens when your actions stop contradicting your standards. Not once, over time. If your mouth says you value discipline, but your behavior says comfort wins, your brain logs that. If your goals sound ambitious, but you keep quitting when things get quiet, your body remembers that. Every small inconsistency builds weight. You start to doubt not just the outcomes, but yourself. And that's where people collapse. Not because they don't care, because they've built a system of living that doesn't match what they claim to believe. So the confidence doesn't stick. They might get hyped, they might feel a spark, but it fades fast because deep down, they know. They haven't done the work to trust their own energy. And that's the real issue. Confidence isn't an emotion, it's a relationship between your intentions and your behavior. If that relationship is fractured, no amount of motivation will fix it, because motivation depends on mood. Confidence depends on memory, and your memory is storing every promise you've broken. There's no shame in that. But there is responsibility, because at some point, if you want to stop feeling like an imposter in your own life, you have to stop outsourcing your credibility to feelings. You won't feel ready, you won't feel inspired, and you won't feel confident until you start doing things that leave no room for self-doubt to survive. And those things, they're not flashy. They're not big public wins. They're quiet. Saying no to distractions, showing up after you fail, following through on the small thing you said you would do, even when it's boring, especially when it's boring. Alan Watts said, "The only way to make sense out of change is to plunge into it." But we hesitate. We wait to feel like we belong in the future we say we want, instead of earning it. And while we wait, confidence decays. Not because we aren't good enough, but because we've put off building the proof. And here's what most people don't realize. Confidence isn't built through pressure. It's built through integrity. Not moral integrity, behavioral integrity. Am I doing what I say I value? Am I showing up in a way that earns my own respect? Am I living in a way that someone I admire would recognize? Most people don't ask those questions. They skip straight to the results. And when the results don't match their hopes, they call it failure. But it wasn't failure, it was fragmentation. Too many gaps between who they are and who they act like. If you want confidence, you fix that first. You close the gap. You don't need to be loud. You don't need to be perfect. You just need to be honest enough to admit where your habits stopped reflecting your beliefs. And then, without waiting for anyone to notice, you start changing how you move. Not for applause, for alignment. That's where the shift begins. Eventually, it becomes simple. You're either building confidence or breaking it, with what you say, with what you tolerate, with what you let slide when no one's watching. That's the truth people avoid. They keep looking for a mindset shift, but what they need is a behavior shift. Because your mindset is just a reflection of what you've seen yourself do over time. If all your mind has seen is excuses, delays, and inconsistency, it won't believe you, and it shouldn't. You don't earn trust with talk. You earn it with patterns. The fix isn't complicated, but it is uncomfortable. You start by getting honest. Not about where you want to be, about where you are, where your effort dropped, where your standards bent, where your words lost their weight. That's where the work begins. Not in changing your personality, but in repairing your self-respect. And no, it won't happen fast, but it will happen quietly. Every time you follow through when you normally wouldn't. Every time you act in private like it matters. Every time you stop outsourcing your credibility to other people's reactions. You won't feel different right away. You'll still feel doubt, still feel off, still feel like you're behind. But one day, you'll handle something that used to scare you, and you won't flinch. Not because you're fearless, because you've shown yourself that you can rely on you. Not perfectly, but consistently. And that's what real confidence is. Not certainty, not volume, not image. It's the quiet strength of knowing you do what needs to be done, without needing to perform it for anyone else. Confidence doesn't mean the fear disappears. It means the fear shows up, and you move anyway. Because you know who you are. Because you've built something real, under pressure, over time, without shortcuts. It's not about feeling unstoppable. It's about becoming dependable. And that doesn't come from hype. It comes from history. From the version of you who kept showing up when no one was clapping, when no one believed yet, when even you had doubts, but you acted anyway. That's the version that earns the right to walk forward without hesitation. So if you want confidence, stop searching for it. Start behaving like someone who deserves it. And if that sounds hard, good. It means it's real. It means it's yours to build. And if you build it honestly, no one can take it from you. Ever.